We're looking at a Japanese racehorse born on April 11th, 1993.
Named Bubblegum Fellow.
Yes, Bubblegum Fellow. And our mission today is to explore how this one single horse fundamentally challenged an entire generation.
He really did.
He spearheaded the Sunday silence revolution in Japan, and yet he left fans and handicappers just endlessly debating what his ceiling actually was.
Yeah, that what-if factor is huge.
Right. Okay, let's unpack this, because if you know anything about the Japanese stud book in the 1990s, you know this story starts and ends with his sire.
Yeah, Sunday silence. I mean, he completely changed the geometry of the sport.
He was a monster.
Totally. And Bubblegum Fellow, whose mother was Bubble Company, which, by the way, gives us that incredibly quirky name, meaning a fellow chewing bubblegum.
I love that name.
It's great, right? Well, he belonged to Sunday Silence's second crop of Japanese foals. And by the time this second crop was hitting the training tracks, the industry had already realized they had a massive double-edged sword on their hands.
Because of the temperament, right?
Exactly. The raw, freakish cardiovascular capacity was undeniable, but so was the attitude.
Yeah, the first crop made it very clear that along with the engine, they inherited their father's fire.
You'd see these horses washing out in a paddock, fighting the bit, just completely lathered in sweat before the gates even loaded.
So if the handlers were bracing for that exact chaos with Bubblegum Fellow, how did he actually behave?
Well, what's fascinating here is they got the total inverse.
Really?
Yeah, the sources explicitly note his calm, almost eerie intelligence. He was incredibly easy to handle.
Wow, a Sunday silence baby that's calm.
Right?
Which brings in the team. We've got trainer Kazuo Fujisawa and jockey Yukio Okabe, two absolute titans of the sport.
Legends, both of them.
Right. And they get this horse to the Tokyo racecourse in October of his 2-year-old season. But finishing third in a debut isn't exactly flashing a neon prodigy sign.
No, it's usually not what you want to see from a superstar.
He's clearly schooling the horse, right? I mean, is it risky to hold back a young horse that clearly just wants to run?
Well, he was treating it as a live fire exercise.
How so?
So, a horse with immense natural talent, especially with that Sunday silence blood, they instinctually want to just empty the tank the second the latch springs.
They just want to fly.
Right. And if a jockey allows that, the horse never learns racecraft. So Okabe used that debut specifically to teach Bubblegum Fellow how to rate.
Which is such a critical concept for the listener to understand. When we talk about rating, we're talking about the physical mechanics of the jockey taking hold of the bit, right?
Yep.
Getting the horse to drop its head, relax its jaw, and settle into the slipstream of the pack.
Exactly. And that takes immense trust between horse and rider. But the lesson took hold immediately with him.
It really did.
Yeah, he came back in his second start and just dominated. Then he took the Fuchu Sansai Stakes effortlessly. He showed he could switch off, save ground, and then explode when Okabe asked him to.
So the tactical foundation is totally laid. Okabe looks at the calendar and sees classic potential.
Oh, for sure.
He wants to stretch the horse out to 2,000 meters in the hopeful stakes to prep for those longer races.
Yeah.
But the ownership group, Shadai, they step in and override him.
Yeah, that was a big moment.
They pivot the horse to the 1,600-meter G1 Asahi Sansai Stakes, which is the biggest juvenile race.
Because Shadai wanted that immediate prestige of the juvenile G1. But a 1,600-meter race, well, for a horse bred to run a mile and a half, that presents a very specific challenge.
Due to the speed.
Exactly. The pace in the Asahi High is always frantic. The pure milers are going to try to run the stairs off their feet early.
And you watch that race, and Bubblegum Fellow wants to go. The pace is hot, and that Sunday silence instinct is just screaming at him to attack the leaders.
But this is where Okabe's masterclass in that first debut really pays off.
Yeah, he anchors the horse. He waits. He literally holds him together through those intense early fractions.
It takes so much strength.
And when he finally feeds him the rein,
the acceleration was just devastating.
Incredible to watch.
He won going away, taking the G1 crown at 2 years old. It was a flawless execution of rating in a really high-pressure environment.
Right.
It proved he wasn't just physically gifted. He had the mental elasticity to execute complex race tactics.
And if we look at the landscape at that moment, this victory wasn't operating in a vacuum. It was a massive structural signal to the entire Japanese breeding industry.
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, Bubblegum Fellow's ascension happened simultaneously with the rise of a few other horses.
The 4 heavenly kings.
Exactly. Royal Touch, Ishino Sunday, Dance in the Dark, and Bubblegum Fellow. The press dubbed them the 4 heavenly kings of Sunday silence.
Which is such a great nickname.
It really is.
But it also hammered home the reality for every other breeding operation in Japan, the tectonic plates had shifted.
Sunday silence was taking over.
The Sunday silence era was officially monopolizing the upper echelons of the sport. So Bubblegum Fellow takes the spring stakes at 3 years old, and he looks like the absolute favorite for the Satsuki show.
He looked unbeatable.
The classics are sitting right there on his silver platter for him.
And then the veterinary scan changes everything,
A fracture in the right hind leg.
requiring 6 months of recovery.
You know how the Japanese racing calendar operates? Missing 6 months as a 3-year-old means you miss the Satsuki show and you miss the Japanese Derby. Your window for classic immortality is just slammed shut.
Right.
But Fujisawa had a different idea, didn't he?
He did. Fujisawa was closely observing how the horse was healing.
Okay.
Because when a young horse suffers an injury like that and is forced into a long layoff, you aren't just dealing with bone repair.
Right, they're still growing.
Exactly. A 3-year-old thoroughbred is still skeletally immature. Their knees haven't fully closed. So during that 6-month stall rest and light rehab, Bubblegum Fellow's frame was actually catching up to his engine.
The bone density increases, the muscle matures, all without the constant catabolic breakdown of a grueling classic campaign.
Precisely.
So Fujisawa sees this physical maturation and makes a pivot that people are still talking about today. He bypasses his own age group entirely.
Unthinkable.
He completely ignores the Kika shift and points a 3-year-old Bubblegum Fellow squarely at the Tenno show autumn.
You are asking a 3-year-old coming off a major fracture to take on fully developed 5- and 6-year-old monsters at Tokyo Racecourse.
The physical differences are huge.
The biomechanical disadvantage is severe. Older horses have deeper cardiovascular foundations, thicker, denser muscle mass to handle the grueling stretch run of a 2,000-meter race.
And looking at the 1996 Tenno show field, Fujisawa wasn't exactly picking a soft spot for a comeback.
Not at all.
Sakura Laurel is in there, fresh off winning the spring Tenno show. You have Marvelous Sunday, who was virtually unbeatable at the time,
Yeah.
and Mayano Top Gun, an elite G1 winner. And to make this mountain even steeper, Okabe isn't available to ride,
Right, so they leg up Masayoshi Abina,
who was young at the time.
a highly talented young rider, but crucially, a jockey who was still hunting for his first career Group 1 victory.
The pressure matrix here is just insane.
Beyond intense.
A young jockey on a 3-year-old prodigy coming off an injury, facing the deepest older horse division Japan had seen in years. You would expect a young horse to feel that pressure, or a young jockey to panic and move too soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the tactical execution in this race is beautiful. Abina tucks him in right near the leaders. He relies entirely on that quiet, monk-like temperament we talked about to save every single ounce of energy.
And when Ebina finally asked him for his run, Bubblegum Fellow attacked, and the older champions, Sakura Laurel and Marvelous Sunday, came bearing down on him.
Yes, a wall of muscle.
You literally have thousands of pounds of mature muscle trying to run down this 3-year-old.
But they couldn't get to him. He holds them off and crosses the wire first. And the historical weight of this is staggering.
Truly historic.
He becomes the first 3-year-old to win the Autumn Tenno show since the modern grading system was implemented, the second in history, and the first in almost 60 years, period.
And it was Ebina's first G1.
Which is amazing for him.
It completely shattered the conventional wisdom about the capability of 3-year-olds in the autumn. It forced the entire industry to reevaluate how they managed elite young horses.
But racing is cruel. And the physical toll of asking a 3-year-old to dig that deep against older horses is severe.
Oh, it drained him entirely. Lactic acid buildup at that level, combined with the sheer central nervous system exhaustion of a historic peak performance, it takes months to truly clear.
Which explains the fallout in the Japan Cup shortly after. He finishes 13th.
Yeah, in racing terminology, he bounced.
He bounced incredibly hard. The tank was completely bone-dry empty, forcing Fujisawa to give him over half a year off just to recover his endocrine system from the trauma of that Tenno show run.
Because older horses can recover from those grueling max efforts much faster. A 3-year-old simply doesn't have the physiological foundation to bounce back in 3 weeks.
Right. But when he finally returned at age 4, he proved his class wasn't a fluke. And here's where it gets really interesting, because the 4-year-old campaign is where we see the absolute peak of his competitive grit.
He really toughened up.
He takes the Naro Kinnan, he fights Marvelous Sunday to the absolute wire in the Takarazuka Kinnan, losing by just a painful neck length.
Such a close race.
And that leads us to the autumn of 1997. A Manichi Okan victory sets up a defense of his Tenno show crown.
And the 1997 Tenno Show Autumn is a cornerstone of Japanese racing lore, purely because of the duel it produced.
Who was he up against?
He was up against Air Groove, the reigning empress of Japanese racing.
When you watch two elite horses isolate each other at the top of the stretch like they did, the mechanics of it are incredible. They literally feed off each other's presence.
Bubblegum Fellow and Air Groove separated themselves from the field and just went to war.
Side by side.
Exactly. The iconic race call, bubble or air, perfectly captured the intensity of that final stretch.
Air Groove finds that one final inch, taking the win with Bubblegum Fellow finishing an incredible second.
It's a defeat on paper, but it was an all-time performance.
Without a doubt. He follows it with a strong third in the Japan Cup against an elite international field behind Pilsudski and Air Groove. He's at the absolute peak of his powers.
And then the dashboard lights up red.
Tendon inflammation strikes.
Which is the nightmare diagnosis for any connections.
Yeah.
Tendon issues in thoroughbreds are notoriously tricky.
Because they don't heal quite right.
Well, they require extensive rest, and the re-injury rate is incredibly high because the repaired tissue is never quite as elastic as the original tendon.
And this sets up a fascinating conflict between the sporting side and the business side of racing.
Yeah, a classic clash.
Fujisawa, knowing the horse's constitution, believed he could rehab him and bring him back for a 5-year-old campaign. He wanted him to race next year.
But the Shade group had to look at the syndication math. I mean, you have a son of Sunday Silence who is a juvenile G1 champion,
right,
who broke a 60-year drought in the Tenno Show and who possesses this incredibly rare, tractable temperament. His value as a stallion at that exact moment was astronomical.
You just don't risk a multi-million-dollar syndication asset on a bowed tendon rehab.
You really can't.
If he comes back and breaks down on national television or strings together a bunch of unplaced finishes, his stud fee plummets. So the economics dictated the decision. The business decision won out.
As it often does.
He was retired with 13 starts, 7 wins, and 2 Group 1s.
This raises an important question, though, for you listening. How do we evaluate a career where the talent clearly exceeded the final paper achievements?
Yeah, it's tough.
He was retired before his 5th year, having missed the entirety of his 3-year-old classic season.
It really makes him the ultimate unfinished masterpiece in a lot of ways.
I agree.
And while his own stallion career didn't completely dominate the turf, though his Japanese offspring had surprisingly good traction on dirt, and he did produce a G1 winner in New Zealand.
Yeah, he wasn't a dominant sire, but he had moments.
His genetic influence is still echoing today.
Yeah.
You look at a horse like Dancing Prince, his grandson on the dam line, taking the JBC Sprint in 2022. The blood is still doing work.
It is. Sadly, he passed away from pneumonia on April 26, 2010.
At just 17 years old.
Yeah, which only adds to the prevailing narrative of his life, you know. Brilliant, groundbreaking, but ultimately cut short.
When you review the sources on Bubblegum Fellow, you realize that true greatness in this sport isn't always measured by compiling the longest resume.
Definitely not.
Sometimes, greatness is simply being the structural pioneer. He was the horse that proved a Sunday Silence could be tactical and calm. He was the horse that proved a 3-year-old could conquer the Autumn Tenno Show.
The first spear of a revolution.
Exactly. He charted the path up the mountain so that the subsequent generations of Japanese thoroughbreds knew exactly how to follow.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more.